What do you need to set up a home theater in the living room? I'll give a brief summary of everything. Elements needed to create a living room that can also be used as a home theater, The ultimate home theater room is one that consists of rows of small sofas, video projector with screen. Essentially, it's a miniature cinema that can be utilized for various purposes, but this type of, not everyone can have a room. I'll discuss an example within reach of all. So let's start with our living room. The first big choice is definitely TV or video projector. The TV is visible even during the day and with the lights on, but the screen size is they are much smaller compared to a video projection system. Spending many hours in front of the TV can be quite tiring for the eyes, especially because we indeed have a light, directed towards the eyes. Using a video projector, the screen is it will be much larger compared to a TV, the viewing will be more immersive and the experience will be more cinematic, or at least closer to what it is when we go to the cinema. On the other hand, even with artificial light or light coming from the window can alter our image, or even in various ways. Broad daylight or very large windows allowing a lot of light, you probably will see nothing. Regarding the colors of a room in a home theater, I prefer gray tones. I would try to avoid white, or at least not use it entirely. The white room, precisely to avoid reflections, especially if you choose the solution. With the video projector, the sofa is also important. It should be comfortable to avoid getting tired, especially during very long movies. We need to define the type of home theater, so whether to go for a 5.1, a 7.1, a 9.1 or Dolby Atmos. The most immersive solution and the most innovative is obviously Dolby Atmos. Then we need to decide what type of speakers to use, whether recessed, freestanding or wall-mounted. There are many various types, styles, designs and patterns available to suit all tastes. It is definitely essential to try to respect the setup of a system as much as possible. Home theater, for example, the position of the speakers relative to the listening point, the heights, symmetry. It's obvious that in a living room, and in this context, which is a home theater living room, you try to do the best you really can, so you indeed adapt because, as we said at the beginning, it is not a room dedicated to this function. However, respecting it as much as possible means bringing it home means having a system that you will fully appreciate and truly find invaluable. If you need any specific setup, kindly please write to me in the comments. I can send you some details. The acoustics of the room shouldn't be too reverberant. Otherwise, the result will be completely nullified. We need to plan to include sound-absorbing surfaces inside our room, such as acoustic panels and other sound-absorbing materials. We can also place, if we have adopted the solution with the video projection behind the screen, if it works in terms of functionality or in other respects. For instance, they can be placed in the first third of the room. They can be in the walls, in the ceiling, and obviously there are more calculations to be made and there's also more work involved. Behind is important, you can't place them randomly. However, it's still important to correct the acoustics because it is essential for having quality listening, for having an immersive listening experience. Otherwise, everything becomes confusing and in fact, the intelligibility of speech is actually lost. So many dialogues that might not be clear or are in the background risk getting masked. They risk becoming something that is not understood. The sound-absorbing panels should inserted symmetrically anyway, so it doesn't make sense to place them only on the right wall. If then on the left wall, for instance, we indeed have plaster, arranging them symmetrically means also to have a more symmetrical and balanced listening experience. Heavy rugs are great for dampening and even the reflection coming from the floor. The furniture that will hold our electronics should be at least generally approximately 50 centimeters deep, and if you have top-of-the-line amplifiers, exceptionally high quality, typically high-end amplifiers, and a depth of approximately 55-60 centimeters is better because they are much more substantial and bulkier, and when you go in depth you will find it more effective. Inserting the connectors increases depth. Many times, looking at the manual, you end up comparing. An amplifier, you see that it is 45 centimeters long and you think, great, perfect, I have the cabinet. 46 of internal useful depth, perfect, yes, but I haven't inserted the connectors yet. Absolutely, when I go to insert the HDMI or other connectors, then it doesn't fit inside anymore. There must be a good heat dissipation, which means there must be adequate and sufficient air intake and proper and efficient air exhaust. So fresh air comes in and warm air goes out. There are specially built furniture companies that make specific products that are specifically designed for this particular type of use, or otherwise if one uses furniture. On the market, maybe the advice is to perhaps use open doors or even open sliding doors, or slightly consider options like make some modifications to ensure there is this air passage. To make all the electronics are essential for the speakers. The starting point is our good amplifier. Audio, video, the sources, and then for gaming enthusiasts, PlayStation, Xbox, I always recommend equip this room as a home theater living room with all those things that make us feeling good. If you're just a cinema enthusiast, okay, we'll stop at the audio video amplifier. Let's stop at the sources. But having a home theater room for a gaming enthusiast is definitely essential, a must-have, because almost all games are now in Dolby Surround, which is great for an immersive experience and enjoyment. So playing with this effect, either in front of a projection screen or maybe even a large TV, definitely offers a completely different gaming experience, much more immersive and much more satisfying. A good smart remote is indeed very essential for a room of this type and absolutely must manage, for sure, the scenarios. For example, a movie scenario, specifically when I press a button and several events should happen. It should turn on the video projector or our TV. You need to turn on the audio video amplifier. Then you need to set it to the right input. You will have to turn on the source. Then maybe you can turn off the lights. All of this should happen just by pressing a button, and this is a feature which one could avoid if they wanted to, but try doing all these gestures with 3 different remotes or pressing different buttons. The convenience practically goes to 0. So it's important to get a good remote control, many available on the market, from the cheapest to the most expensive, more advanced. And so by pressing a key, we are ready to watch our movie streaming on Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime Video. These are all the main points to work on. To create a room of this type, then obviously to get into specifics, it's better to rely on to a partner, to a specialized technician. But let's say that this video also serves to put in terms of the ideas of what will be done, and there are certainly indeed many points that are not always. Things like the sofa or other items such as furniture and other similar household items are touched, but these choices must be considered very carefully. Done well, like the choice of furniture. Many might purchase the living room furniture thinking of placing the electronics there without considering the cooling, without considering the depth, and instead, this is fundamental. For any doubts or questions, or if you want to know more, write to me in the comments. See you in the next video. Thanks, see you soon.